Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of HSP TV. I am your host, Barbara, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Samantha Scholtz. And we are going to be talking about why burnout happens and how to realign with your true self again. I've been looking forward to this topic because what I am seeing in my practice and what I also personally experienced is that for a lot of us, the catalyst that brought us closer to ourselves or that started us off on our journey of self discovery is a burnout. So I'm very happy that you are here today, Samantha, to talk about this because I think a lot of people will find themselves in a similar situation and will be benefiting from our conversation today.
Okay, good. That makes me happy.
Me too. So I am assuming that since we are talking about burnout and that being the catalyst towards realignment, that is also an integral part of your personal story. So could you maybe share a little bit about the road up to the burnout and how it first started, what you noticed, what you thought, what you were feeling?
Sure. Yeah. Well, at the time this happened now about 7 years ago or so, I was working in healthcare. I'm a respiratory therapist, so I worked at a trauma center and did, of course, it's airway breathing. So I was there for anything critical. And we also had a burns unit as well. So a lot of just go, go, go in healthcare. And I mean, I think we all understand that we're typically overworked, in the healthcare system. Like they run it pretty tight with staffing. So you're always going to be doing more than you probably should. Um,
Hmm.
so especially in that circumstance, right? So there's several things that I noticed as this was happening. Now, I did start at 40 years old too. It's not like I was like some spring chicken going out there starting, right? But
Yeah.
40, I was still pretty fit and pretty like doing pretty well, like that I could run around and do all of this. And I actually really enjoyed it. It was really fun. I was like, I wanted to save the world and, just go in every day. And I do. Anyway, I like the rapid change because, you know, I probably could have been labeled ADD, right? And
Mhm.
so that's really kind of great for this type of personality, because I can change. Everything's new. It's just fun. It's dynamic, but
Mhm.
it's also exhausting. So, and
Yes.
then I had worked there 10 years, and it was like probably the last 2 years or so, I just started noticing. Oh, another thing is I moved into management, right? So
Mhm.
then at the time, the hospital was kind of struggling a little bit. And so they kept telling us, oh, you're just so lucky you have a job. You're just so lucky you have a job, right? And then
Yeah.
we are. We're grateful that we have a job. And so we just
Yeah.
keep going and doing, and more is on
Mhm.
our plate. And so then I did step up where I was a supervisor. And then, oh, yeah, and then you're going to be the lead over all the therapists, and you're going to train, and you're going to have
Mhm.
patients, right? I could be doing that in one 12-hour day.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that come with that. For one, when you're understaffed and you're in charge, you're automatically stressed out, right?
Yes.
Because you don't
For
know
sure.
if there's going to be a bus crash, plane crash today, whatever's going to go on, where you're going to need more people.
Yeah.
And if you don't have them, you're doing it, right? So
Yeah.
you kind of already
Exactly.
have this underlying stress on any given day, and you're short staffed.
Yes.
And then being working at the county hospital, so that's your, more difficult cases. So like your gunshot wounds, your stabbings, your whatever. It
Mhm.
could be
Yeah.
policemen, it could be whoever, it could be prisoners. And so it's kind of wild. I mean, I really initially wanted that type of role because I was really into that at the time, right?
Yeah.
But what I found is just over the years and having to caffeinate more, like I would have a Starbucks like 4 shots in the morning. And then at
Mhm.
lunch, I would go get this humongous Diet Coke. And then later in the day, I'm having another giant coffee, right? So
Mhm.
that is all artificial stimulants, right? That are just over time, you just get toxed out.
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't the only thing I had going on. I happened to be married to a narcissist at the time, and it was
Hmm.
really getting rough with the amount of control that he was coming down on me with and the kids.
Yeah.
And then my brother was dying of cancer at the time. And
Yeah.
so I was like just maxed, like here. I was like trying to get, catch my breath or um, just figure out what was going on. I really did not know what was going on because you know how it is when you're living and you're just doing it.
Yeah, you're going through the motions. You're trying to survive the best way you know how.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just would start. What I found was that I was just drained and the amount of exhaustion. And went to the doctor and I had to keep going up on my thyroid levels because I was so toxed out. I mean, I didn't know that at the time, right? But I just needed the medication to keep me going because I didn't have mental clarity. Um, I probably wasn't drinking enough water as well. And then you add the stress on top of everything. So from stress at work, stress at home, it was just too much.
Yeah.
So what I found was that I just could not function anymore. Like it was so hard to get out of bed.
Yeah.
When I did go to work, what happens is when you're in that high stress level for so long, it depletes your body of the, natural chemicals that we need to keep us calm. So what happened is I started getting more anxious, just anxious, anxious. And then you add caffeine to that. And
Yeah.
then I'm just
That
like
does not help.
super anxious, right?
Yeah.
And then like every day I really had to prep myself, like get up and get going and have a good attitude and have my caffeine and like so much that I was like so wired in the morning, like
Hmm.
everybody's seeing me just run around. But
Yeah.
that's truly what I had to do to get through the day and just make sure the hospital was functioning, make sure my family's functioning. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just too much.
Yeah.
And so what I started to do, like the results of this was I started calling out of work because I was just exhausted. I could not recover. I ended up having to go use all my short-term disability because I
Mhm.
had paid for it. So and I went to my doctor, and same thing. I was on all of this high level of thyroid at the time, which she was so worried about my bone density because that's just a
Mhm.
side effect of all of that, right?
Yeah.
So she kind of helped guide me on what I needed to do, and I just decided at that point I had to step away from the hospital
Hmm.
because I just was so anxious. Like if we had a trauma come in, um, I was so anxious and I had dealt with trauma a lot. So it's not that I didn't know how to function in that, but
No.
the emotional side of it, everything, I was way more emotional. Some people get
Hmm.
really calloused. I was more emotional. Just
Hmm.
everything really hit me
Yeah.
at a deep level. Like especially children, like I did see that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back was I
Yeah,
saw
it's like your
child abuse.
wires are stripped to the naked metal.
Yeah.
Everything that touches it sets it off.
Yep, exactly. That's totally how I was. And so then I had to learn along the way, like why I was feeling the way I was feeling and how to explain it and how to correct it.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so rest was the biggest factor, getting away from the fight or flight. I still to this day don't handle stress as well. Like it burnt out my nervous system. So I've healed it
Yeah.
as much as I can, but
I honestly don't think that we handle it worse than before. I think we're just more aware of the effects of it. Where before we were either unaware or we were stars at ignoring it. Now we can no longer ignore it. So you touch upon some really great points that I also recognize. And if you are listening and you recognize them too, then do leave us a comment or share your story. And so one of the things is that we are programmed to always want to help other people. So we are always there for other people and we tend to forget ourselves in the process. So that means that we don't take care of ourselves as well as we should have, that we put other people's needs and wants before our own, and that also asks a lot of us. And if I listen to you, then you sound very similar to me, and that probably means that you are a high sensation seeker. That is someone that sort of walks a tightrope between it needs to be interesting enough not to be boring, but it shouldn't be too interesting because then it's depleting.
Yes, so
Like
true.
walking a tightrope between being bored out of your brain, being stimulated out of your brain, being bored out of your brain, being stimulated out of your brain. And that also asks a lot of you. And if you then don't take care of yourself as well as you should, then it becomes a problem. And we can handle that for quite a while. But then when too many things happen at the same time, and your brother dying of cancer, which is a huge emotional thing if you're close to your family, and then a narcissistic partner, instead of helping you, supporting you, taking weight off your shoulders, adding heaps on it, being unreasonable, being controlling. I had a relationship with one as well, so I know what it is. I think many of us have a relationship with someone like this because they are attracted to our flame. We are always there for them. We put them on a pedestal, especially in the beginning, and they can be really charming in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Right? So we fall for their smooth talking and their gifts and their thoughtfulness, because in the beginning they're really thoughtful and attentive, and then they switch. And but it's not an instant switch, it's a gradual switch, and it takes us with us, and then we start to have feelings for someone, and then we also don't like giving up, and we try to see the other side of things, and we try to think, oh yeah, but he had a bad day, or we try to talk things right, and all of that, it keeps depleting us further and further and further. And if too many of those things start happening, we start going into survival mode. And when we go in survival mode, we take even less good care of ourselves. We start to do bad things like over caffeinating, eating junk food more, sleeping less, things like that. And that only makes the problem bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually, there is no other option for the body than to just shut down, because our mind is very powerful and our mind keeps going. It
Mhm.
keeps pushing us and keeps doing stuff, but our body starts to resist. And for me, for instance, I started postponing the time I went to bed on Sunday, because on Monday morning, when I woke up, I had to go to work. And somewhere in my twisted brain is, if I go to bed later, then I can postpone the moment I have to wake up to go to work. All of these are signals that you should pay attention to, but we haven't learned to pay attention to those signals. So we either don't see them, or we don't interpret them right. We don't see them as serious, or we don't know what to do if we even see or feel them. So we feel like we are trying to do our best.
We are. That's truly what it is. And that's really how we get there. It's like a slippery slope. We're just living life, right? We're taught to train and go get a job, and that's how we make our living. So we all kind of did that, and nobody really tells you these things, right? You just kind of slip into it, and it's happened to a lot of people in our generation. Because it was, we always wanted more for our kids, and more than we had, and then all of these, and especially like the American way, whew, it's crazy keeping up with the Joneses. So
Yeah.
not that I ever really fell into that, but my ex was like that, right? So then there was always this, how like a narcissist, there's multiple
Expectations.
meanings. So it's not like if you say one thing, it's truly what they mean and you know what the heck they're talking about. No, there's a
Yeah.
lot of different meanings.
Yes.
And so that's hard when you're just trying to live your life and trying to survive and raise your kids, and then the caffeine and all of that. And, just at one point, I had to leave the hospital. I just knew that I felt like I was being pushed out the door, and it was probably just energetically. like my body and, my guides saying, no, you're done here. So it did take me a little bit to decide because, right, it's a steady
Mhm.
income. How am I going to pay my bills? Because I had left my ex at the
Yeah,
time by
what
the
else
time
am
I
I
left
going to
hospital.
do? This is what I know.
Yeah. 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 That's that. And so, anyway, but that was one of the best decisions I made, clearly, was walking away. It did take me 2 full years to recover, and that would be more of me just resting daily. Like I could get up and I could function and I still could do my exercises and stuff, but I had to watch that too on working out and healing my adrenal glands.
Hmm.
And the chemicals that were depleted in my body, especially GABA, is a really, really big one that just helps keep you calm. And we can't replace it fast enough if we're burning through it. So it has to be supplemented. And so
Yes.
when I started, taking GABA, I started calming down. And then got away from the ex. My brother died, right? So it's like I just kind of fell to the ground, and that's like, right, dark night of the soul, like just dark times, honestly.
Yeah, because what a lot of people do, or underestimate is, and I did it myself, and I see it with every single client that comes to me from burnout, is we cannot accept the burnout. We cannot accept that we cannot do anything. So we're fighting with the burnout. And for me, when I ended up in my burnout, I slept 18 hours, got up, took a shower, and just felt like I want to go back to bed. And my brain kept telling me this is not normal to sleep this much. You need to get up, you need to do stuff, you need to take action. And I felt like I was failing myself. I felt like I was failing my family. I felt like I was failing at work. I was letting everybody down. And I fought it tooth and nail. I couldn't accept it. And it isn't until you surrender to the tiredness, surrender to the need for rest, the burnout and stuff, you cannot recover from it.
You can't. No. No, and in fact, like just those short little times of calling out to work and everything, even if it, like there were times that I had to take a month off, you know,
Yeah.
and I still was not, it was
No.
not enough to
It
recover. So,
reaches a point that that is not enough anymore. Even a half a year of doing nothing would probably not have solved it.
no,
And
it
that
took
is
2 years.
our capacity of pushing ourselves. And it is equally dependent on how far you've pushed yourself into your burnout, how long it takes for you to get out. So the first step is accepting it. And the sooner you accept it and the sooner you acknowledge it, the shorter your recovery period is going to be. And the longer you resist it and the longer you fight it, the longer everything is going to take.
Well, and that's another thing, since we are highly sensitive people, okay? We already know that if it feels like fire or it doesn't feel good to us, we're not aligned with it.
Yeah.
So now knowing that, now we're looking at alignment, and now we have to kind of retool our whole life, right?
Yes.
We do.
Exactly.
And so I do not see things the same. There's no way I would ever go back and push myself that way. For
No.
someone else to make their career better or their business flow, you know, no, no.
No.
We need to come back in and we need to draw the line and say, I understand that these things go on, but I will not be a part of it because, for one, you're not resonating with it if it's painful to do it, right? So
Yeah.
that is a trigger. That is something, your body and your spirit telling you something is up and it's time to pay attention.
It has everything to do with valuing yourself enough to put yourself first. But somewhere in our society, we learned that when we think about ourselves, that we're being egoistical or selfish, and that that is a bad thing. So we feel I cannot say no because people are depending on me. I cannot flunk out because people are depending on me. I cannot not come because I promised I would be there and people are depending on me.
Right.
And, and it's this vicious circle that keeps us stuck there. And in the moment it happened, I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened in my life. And now looking back, it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me because it forced me, and I think that that is for most of us the only way to exact change.
Mhm.
It forced me to take a really hard look at my life and how I was living it and be brutally honest with myself about it's not working.
Right.
What you're doing is not working. It's not good for you. You need to find a different way of being, a different way of doing, but also a different way of reacting, responding, a different way of allowing things to affect me. And one of the things I learned, and I love to find out if that's the same for you, is I was affected too much by other people and their opinions and their wants, needs, and desires over my own,
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
right?
I mean, I think that's actually truly, if we boil it down, it's probably that. That's probably the base of it, is that we were allowing other people to truly encroach on us, like the
Yeah.
takers, right? They're takers. And if
Yeah.
we're not strong enough, because sure, we love to help people and we love to give and we're overgivers, right? But
Yes.
at some point, you have to understand that there should be balance. There's a give and take. It's an energy exchange. That's where that came from. And it's so true.
Yeah.
Now, that particular thing, yes, was I getting paid at the hospital? Sure, I was getting paid. But if you think about it, it was not nearly enough.
Is
And
it worth your health, right?
well, and then being a single mom, still working in there, right?
Mm.
So then that was another thing. I was barely making any money because, I had to have insurance and all of this stuff.
Wow.
And then I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so like I'm making like $600 like a week and no, and I'm going through this hell. Forget it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you're not paying me anywhere near enough of what I should be having to go through this hell. And that's the moment that you wake up. And but I think we end up in that situation because everybody more or less does the same. So we think that it's more or less expected. I don't think even think we think about it consciously. It's just what you do, right? You get a good education, then you get a good job, then you find a partner, then you start a family, you buy a house, and then you work until your retirement, and then you die.
Right. Yeah. That sounds
That's
like a
life.
really bad plan, doesn't it? I don't like that plan.
No. And nobody talks about having fun along the way. And that is another thing I identified. Most of us, we have lost our ability for play,
Mhm.
for simple enjoyment, for just doing things for the fun of it because it makes you smile or because it's weird and you like it.
Oh yeah, it's so fun. One thing that I am realizing now as we're talking about a part of the burnout
Mm.
is that working in healthcare, at least, and it could be other things, right? Other jobs. I don't know because I haven't worked them, but I was taught a certain way, like you go to school, I'm going to save the world. I'm so excited. I get to go out, I get to help people. And I have. I have helped so many people in the 10 years that I was there. It was very rewarding.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you start throwing these other things in there, like there's a certain level of care you want to give your patients,
Yes.
and you're not allowed to do it necessarily if you don't have enough people and you're running here and there, you're putting out fires all day. And that kind of goes against something truly within you as the healer and as the highly sensitive person, that
Yeah.
you're not getting to care for that person the way they deserve and the
Yes.
way that you would want to deliver care and get care and have
Yeah.
care delivered to you. None of it fits. And
And
so
that's
Yeah, it's very discouraging.
That's the other part, right? Because we have a really big heart. And most people think of themselves first, and we tend to think of other people first. And we are most happy when everybody we care about is happier. And
Yes.
so we first want to make sure that everybody is having a good time and that everybody is enjoying themselves and that everybody is living a good life before we can sort of enjoy our life. And when you work in a profession like healthcare, you feel responsible for your patients and you want them to have the best care, the best experience, and of course, the best outcome. And because we are so caring, it's very dangerous because we get personally involved. And then we have this really big sense of right and wrong. And when an injustice happens, when a mistake is made, or someone doesn't get the care they need, and they have a serious consequence that could have been prevented, that is our savior complex things. Oh, and that cannot be. And all of that asks a lot of us. And if you then also are a mom, especially when you're a single mom and you're responsible for younger children that also depend on you, then there's a lot of people depending on you and you feel responsible for a lot of people. And if you don't know how to handle that well, then you handle it intuitively and that almost never ends well.
Yeah, true. True. I mean, everyone's just trying to survive. That's truly what it is. And you know what's so interesting about this too is when I left the hospital, I went back to school and became a health coach. And it just happened to be right about COVID where everything shut down. So you're thinking everyone would want to be getting healthy. No, no,
Oh, no.
no. I think there was so much fear, honestly, that
Yes.
everybody was just paralyzed.
Yeah,
And
we're feeding the fear actively, keeping people afraid because when people are afraid, they are manipulable and they are docile, and you can get them to do whatever you want them. And that's how they got people to have this massive amount of vaccinations that are now proven to not have done anything useful.
right,
And
yes,
all kinds of other stuff. And they used to use religion for that, and now they're using things like these viruses for it because yeah, power. I think everything in the end boils down to money and power. But being the people that we are, with the big heart and the openness, and then we're also a sponge. And when we haven't learned to close ourselves off or to protect our energy really well, then we take over everybody's energy, everybody's emotion. And when you're living in a high stress environment like a hospital, you take over everybody's stress, everybody's grief, everybody's sorrow, everybody's worries on top of your own, because those are also still there. And when you don't know that that is happening, then you don't understand why you keep feeling this way, which increases your worry about yourself. And then you go into this downwards spiral. And it's very difficult to get out of that again when you don't get adequate help.
that is so true. That's so true. And that's funny, something you mentioned, like I was just picturing myself being with patients, and there's just something that you want to give this good care and you just can't. And then being a respiratory therapist and being airway breathing, so what do you think I do? Like I'm doing compressions a lot, so then I have my hands on the dying, right? And no wonder I'm so trashed with just exhaustion, because,
Yes.
you know, it's not easy to see someone die. One, then you have your
No.
hands on them, and I'm actually there as they're leaving the body. So, you know, um, I think towards the end, especially after I gave my notice, because I was like, okay, I don't know. I'll just go find something, because there are different types of therapists. Now, I didn't always have to be in the action, but
No.
initially that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But then you have the training, and that's where you need to be because you have the training, right? But,
Yeah.
I probably could have done easier things, like gone to something more relaxed, like a care center or something like this, right? But I just left it all together because of the other things that go along with it. The institution, like you said, the vaccinations, anything, just the amount of control. And then, like, I just didn't get it either, right? This is the thing, like you say, we ask ourselves because we're about what's right and how we feel, like you said, like a patient advocate. I was a huge patient advocate, and I felt like I had to fight for my patients all the time. And my motto was, I keep them alive till 7:05, right? I wanted to give somebody another day. That's
Hmm.
it. If that's all I could give, and then they needed to, and it was their time, right? It's their times that people need to pass, and that's it, their sole contract, whatever. But what I just wanted to allow people another day so that they could say that last goodbye. So,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
yeah, to have that, where that's just so much information alone
Yes.
mentally. And then
Yes.
to be a highly sensitive person, and then, I probably could be a Reiki practitioner. I haven't tried, but so that's why I'm feeling like I was getting so much
Yeah.
from them, their energies as well,
Yeah.
the dying. So.
Yes. So, what were some pivotal moments in your story? So, things that really helped you get out of it, or some major insights?
Well, actually, what's interesting is I just started seeing things. I just kind of became an observer, right?
Mm.
Because there was so much involved in my decision, especially being a single mom. Like it just put another level on the pressure that I was feeling. But once I made that decision, because I was like, I just don't think I can be here anymore. And then the same thing, like supervisors aren't having your back, or they want you to work harder, do more. Your people are complaining because they don't know where you're at. Well, who cares? Like, I'm taking care of patients. It's none of their business what my workers think, right? And so
Mhm.
they had their back. It's all of these things, all of these little things that go against what's right,
Yeah.
right? And when, especially being highly sensitive, we are big on what the difference between right and wrong.
Yes, extremely. I remember seeing on the news that people who went on holiday had left their dog tied to a tree in the woods. That
Oh,
would get me so upset. And I would think, you beep. Let me find you. Let me tie you to a tree in the heat without food and water and see how well you like it.
right.
It's those types of injustices. It's really bad. Or the abuse of children. It's always the weaker that and we can really go into this advocating energy.
Ooh. And anger, yes. And I found, you know what I found? Here's a big sign. If you don't know you're there yet, because I don't complain, but that's all I was doing towards the end. I was complaining about everything. I was complaining, can you believe they're doing this? Can you believe they're doing that? Like just complaining. And I caught myself. Oh, and also here's another sign. When all of your friends and everybody, they're tired of hearing it. They're tired of it. Like you'll go talk to them and they just glass over, in the eyes. They're like so tired of hearing it. It's
Yeah.
time to take it back into you and decide, okay, what am I going to do? And
Yes.
so that's what I did. I just knew, I didn't know how it was going to work, but I said, I got to get out of here. The second I gave my 2 weeks notice, I was so relieved. But I also had a feeling there was something big coming, right? Because I'm highly sensitive, I'm highly
Mhm.
intuitive. So I
Yeah.
knew something was coming. Now, I didn't know it could have been a mass casualty because we were right by the airport. It could have been a plane crash, it could have been a bus crash, it could have been whatever. But guess what it was? COVID. I
Ah,
got out before COVID, 2 years before. And if I would have been in there being burnt out already, it would have been a nightmare.
yes. Yes.
So, and
COVID.
but then the savior complex, when I'm hearing they need people and the hospital needs people, excuse me, I seriously thought about going back,
Mhm.
but I didn't allow myself.
No, because in the end, I think it's really about discovering who you are and what makes you happy. Well, how your energy works, how you can protect yourself, and the things that you can do during the day that fit into your energy pattern, how to use your energy best, and to do the things that light up your soul.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
And
you
then it's
definitely
really
need
about,
that regardless. Even if you are still working in some place that you don't like,
mhm,
you've got to have something fulfilling outside of it.
always.
Yes, always. You have to have a hobby which calms your mind. Um, you have to find joy, or
Yes.
there's no balance in life, and then that's what makes people miserable.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So there was a period when I was transitioning from the job that I was doing towards having my own business. And that meant educating myself and learning a new profession. And that also meant that I had to stay working in the job that I didn't want to be working in anymore. But it was bearable because I was doing something I absolutely loved. I was working towards a future that I did want to have, and the job I could do with two fingers up my nose, half asleep, which allowed me to have all my time and energy there for the new things I was learning, the new things I was mastering. And those were the things that were giving me energy. And that was a huge difference from when I worked in the same job even before, where it was just energy and soul sucking and it was not giving anything in return, as to putting up with it because you have a greater plan that's already in motion and you're feeding yourself off of the greater thing that you're doing. So it needs to be indeed either a hobby, something that fulfills you, really fulfills you, or you need to be working towards a different future, studying, educating yourself, anything that lights you up, because otherwise you cannot stay in a job that is soul sucking for a very long time without consequences.
Right. That is so true. So it would be health consequences,
Yes,
right? Physically, mental health consequences,
yes,
right? Which could also lead to addiction,
yes,
which could all lead to all kinds of things, right? It could be anything, really. You think about it, child abuse, anything, because everybody's worn out. They don't have the trigger is tighter, if that makes sense, right? You're triggered more easily, you're less patient. You know, when you're looking at your day and you have absolutely nothing more to give anyone, you know you're maxed. And
yes.
it's really time to start backing it down, and it's okay to say no.
Yes, and you mentioned another thing that is also a really big red flag, and that is addiction of any kind. I've seen sex addiction, I've
Oh yeah.
seen alcohol addiction, drug addiction, I've seen shopping addiction, clothes addiction, food addiction. It
Oh yeah.
really doesn't matter what it is, but we start numbing ourselves or hiding away what is really happening, burying it under the pleasure that a new dress or a new purse or a new TV. My boyfriend kept buying bigger and bigger TVs. It was also his way of, well, suppressing his unhappiness.
Right.
And not working on it. So those are big flags when you start noticing that you want to drink more, that you want to eat more, that you're gaining weight without some reason other than just eating more for it. And you start preferring junk food over healthier food because it satisfies more, sugar or salty or fat or everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that was the thing. So I ran into the same thing. So it's not that I was super overweight. I was probably like 10 pounds overweight, but just toxic, just with the amount of chemicals floating around in my body.
Mhm.
But, you know, and then same thing, like you addressed it. If I were in a code or something and somebody died, and say I was sweating because I was doing like compressions or I was doing whatever, you know, because we had to wear trauma gear.
Yeah.
So it gets very hot, right? And then you have the adrenaline, all of this stuff. So I was like, are you kidding? I'm going to get something, a treat for me because I just saw somebody die.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I could justify it all the time.
Yeah.
And it was an emotional thing. It did make me feel better, but then it ends up being a toxic thing. So,
Yeah. I deserve a chocolate for all the shit I had to put
yeah,
out there
you know,
today.
I deserve this humongous Diet Coke. It's
Yeah.
that big.
Or I need it to get to the next hour, and then I'll do something nice for myself, and then that something nice never comes. And so the mind has so many ways of tricking ourselves, making deals with ourselves, but compromising our health.
Right.
And those are all red flags. So if you are in a situation like this, if you recognize what we are talking about, we would love to hear your story. And by sharing our story, we help other people in a similar situation know that they're not losing their mind, they're not going crazy. This is actually very normal, and we help them figure out what to do about it, which is really, really helpful. And I can also imagine that if you are in something like this, that you think, oh, I either want to talk to someone or I need some help. So if people feel drawn to your energy, Samantha, where can they find you? How can they reach you?
They can find me, which I'll make sure that you get my email. I do have a site. It's Samantha Scholtz. Well, actually, I'm just going to send you all of that if you can put it in the comments. That'll be easier. But emailing me, or I do have a site. I'm actually a sound healer. I did become a sound healer as well, which has helped me a lot. Like way past the burnout. Like I kind of had some residual stuff that I was still working on,
Yeah.
and then just bringing sound healing in has really helped me with my nervous system and everything. And so I feel so much better. But yeah, so I have a site that has all of that. I do sound baths. I'm actually going to do a sound bath tomorrow night for the equinox and kind of wrap that up because of the
Very cool.
energy with the eclipse and then the
Yeah.
equinox and everything. So that's tomorrow night online. I do those sometimes online, sometimes live. I'll also do one-on-one, like, so I can create specific things for specific people and what they are dealing with.
I love
So,
that.
yes, so energetic me AZ, that's my email. And then, like I said, I'll send you the site so it can go down in your description or whatever. And feel free to, reach out or come to sound healing, try it out. Because it's really a great way to just get back into balance, calm the nervous system. Because, these days, I'm more about the Zen and being chill, and I'm saying no when I feel like I need to. And sometimes, when I say no, I'm just like, I don't know why I don't want to do that, but I don't want to do it.
No, and that is the thing that we need to learn. So one thing that really helped me is the realization that when I say no to other things, I'm saying yes to myself, even
Yes.
when I don't really know what I'm saying yes to. But if there comes a point where you know the difference between, oh, I don't want to, or it's better that I don't.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that is the biggest difference because if you think, oh, I don't want to, but you know you need to because you have to, is for me, it's cleaning, for instance. I hate cleaning, but it needs to happen. So when I don't want to do that and I drag my feet, I know why that is. But if I have an appointment and I just feel in every fiber of my being, it's not the right energy, it's not the right time, or whatever is going on, then I confidently feel that it's okay to say, I'm so sorry. I looked forward to this the entire week, but now that the moment has come, I just am not able to join.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. That's being authentic and that's listening to yourself, and things can change. Like you may not even know being highly sensitive. That's a whole nother thing. There's a lot of things that we know
Yes.
that we cannot put into words or whatever, but those we have this within us for a reason.
Yes.
Okay, like we're highly sensitive for a reason because we are here to help humanity, but we're
Yes.
not here to be walked on either. And
No.
so by
Exactly.
saying no when you don't want to, that is respecting your boundaries, and boundaries are a big deal. That's where we start getting resentful and all of these things, is when we allow people to cross those boundaries, let's be real, right? But
Yes.
we just have to learn to say, you go have a good time. For some reason, I don't know why I don't want to go, but I'm just going to stay home this time.
Uh,
And I had this come up with my daughter recently. She wanted, it was just something silly. Like she's a crafter and she found this little trailer that you tow behind a truck or whatever. And she wanted to make it a craft trailer that you can take to, craft fairs and things. And then she's like asking me, okay, well, let's go pick it up. Well, I've never towed anything. I don't know how to tow. And then she's like, well, I'll just do it. And I know it's dangerous, and so I was just like, I was just having this attack of like my inner compass said, no way, I'm not doing it. And I kept telling her no. And she's like, come on, come on. And I was smart enough to say, look, my gut instinct is telling me no. And you're asking me to go against my gut instinct. And I will not do it.
yeah. Yeah,
Right.
and that's really, really powerful. And that is something that most of us have to learn. And if I look back, I have never regretted the moments I listened to my gut instinct. And I've almost always regretted when I went against it and did it anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So true. So true.
Yeah.
No, I like it if we can, I'm all about streamlining things, right? So why was I allowing people to walk all over me? I don't know.
It's a societal thing. It comes from the old days where women were lesser than a men, and we needed to learn our place, and that was not at the forefront with the men. And so it's a combination of those things, and also something in our nature. But in the end, it's all about, well, discovering who you really are, how your energy works, and how you want to live your life, regardless of what anybody else thinks about it or what their opinion about it is. Because in the end, the only opinion that matters is your own, and that is not being selfish.
Right. And this is our experience. So
Yeah.
why not make it the best experience? And guess what? When you do make the decision to walk away, things do fall into place. Now, I do have to say, it hasn't been easy since I've left the hospital, even financially, it hasn't been easy. But would I go back? No way. Right? I will find a way. I don't care if I'm washing my neighbor's windows. I don't care. I'm not going back to that environment because it's a
Exactly.
taking environment. And, I'm here to give, but I want to give it to people that know, that need it, that want it, that accept it, that love
Appreciate it.
it. Yeah, and
Yes.
appreciate it.
Yes. We deserve to be appreciated,
Me
Samantha.
too.
Yes. I've been loving our talk. So, like Samantha said, I will make sure that her links and her email are included in the show notes. So that's the description of the video. You will probably find it below the video. Could be to the left or the right, kind of depends on where you're catching this. If you're new to the channel, I would love it if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will never miss another video again. Please make sure that you leave us your thoughts, your insights, your questions, or your experiences. We would love to hear from you. You can always also reach out to me, of course. I would also love to talk with you. My links are also included in the description. And for today, yeah, I wish everybody a wonderful rest of the day. And I want to thank you, Samantha, for this wonderful conversation. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yes, thank you, Barbara. It was amazing. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a really great day. And I'll see you next week with another beautiful guest. Take care.